everybody, this is Moose, and I'm here doing another interview with Patrick Willems. So for people who don't know who you are, can you please introduce yourself, do a proper introduction?
Of course, or I'll do my best. So I'm Patrick Willems, or as I'm frequently seen on the internet, Patrick H. Willems, because my middle initial is in there because URLs for just Patrick Willems were taken. Anyway, I'm a filmmaker and YouTuber. I've been making YouTube videos for, oh my god, 6 years now, and that sort of run all over the place from like cinematic short films to like videos riffing on the styles of popular directors to video essays analyzing and deconstructing cinema to just movies or videos where I talk about movies. Everything kind of comes back to movies and filmmaking, but the videos themselves take a lot of different forms, and that is probably what I am best known for. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, so my first question is I know you do a lot of like video essays and talking about like what if this director, like for example, one of my favorite videos you made was what if Wes Anderson directed XMen. So what kind of inspired you to make videos like those?
So specifically the like what if this director directed this thing?
Yeah, like let's go with that. Also for example, like what if Werner Herzog like directed Ant-Man?
Yeah. Well, that began back in 2013. And actually, yeah, the origin of that series was I heard that there was going to be a remake of the movie Point Break, and that remake did come out. Was it a year ago? I don't know. No one saw the remake.
I think so. I think it was like 2016, 2015.
Yeah, exactly. No one knows because no one saw that movie. And but I'm a big fan of the original Point Break, and I thought the idea of remaking it was so dumb because the movie wasn't great because of the story or the premise. It was great because it had because Catherine Bigelow is a great director and she had the perfect cast and executed it perfectly. And so I was thinking about this, and I was thinking the only way a remake would be interesting is if they got a director who would bring their own distinct take to that. And so I thought it would be funny to do a video that explored what if several different directors remade Point Break. And so we did, at the time, this was the most successful video I'd ever made. And it's this video that reimagines Point Break if it were directed by Wes Anderson, Tommy Wiseau, Joe Swanberg, and David Lynch. And then, because I'm often slow to realize these things, it took another year for me to think, wait a second, what if I took that same approach but applied it to more things? Because since I'm the kind of neurotic nerd who likes to, pick apart a filmmaker's style and try to figure out exactly how to recreate it. That's the kind of thing that I enjoy. And so that then turned into a series that I call Alternate Universe Comic Book Movies, which are what if comic book movies were made by directors who would normally never make those types of movies. So that's how you get Wes Anderson's X-Men, or Sergio Leone's The Punisher, or Noah Baumbach's Spiderman, Werner Herzog's Ant-Man, stuff like that. And
John Woo's Squirrel Girl, or Alfred Drew directed Wolverine,
Exactly. And I have a lot of fun with these because I'm a comic book nerd and I'm also a big movie nerd. And so, it's a way to combine two of the things that I love, and also they're little filmmaking challenges for myself to see how accurately can I reproduce this particular filmmaker's style.
Well, I also think that's a really interesting take on that kind of thing, because usually, what you said, these type of directors, and I'm a big movie person and comic book fan myself, so just seeing these takes on directors I really look up to, and just taking them and putting in these situations, and not situations, but putting them in what if they made these kind of movies. I think you do capture their style very, very well, and I can appreciate that. I think a lot of people who've seen their films can also appreciate that as well. And maybe even people some of these directors I've even heard of, and so I looked them up so I can know what their films are. So I think you're doing like a mix of a tribute to said director and also a bit of a parody on itself. So I think that's a very, like, in my opinion, it's a very, very genius idea of doing a mix of the two.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I should mention that I'm not the first person to do this. Like, back, I think in, like, 2010, maybe, there was a video by Jeff Loveness that was Wes Anderson's Spiderman. I was in college when that came out, and that really blew up back then. And so I'm not the first person to do this exact kind of thing. I think I'm the first one to make it an ongoing series. But I'm really glad that you enjoy it. That's really nice of you to say.
Yeah, I think a lot of other people enjoy it too. Like, I also also with your video essays, one I think I've said before, and I really enjoyed it because it was one of the first Batman films I ever watched since I was a kid, and also since I loved the series. How would you explain Batman: Mask of the Phantasm?
I love it.
Yeah, it's really, like what you said, one of the best Batman films ever made, and so it's like when you basically explain everything that you could want in a Batman story, and I think you and the Nostalgia Critic really explained it very well, and a lot of people have no idea it exists or never knew that even they had a theatrical movie. So I show a lot of people what the movie is, so they can know the existence. And so I think you explained that the movie here, people who don't know why it's such a great film, or people who don't know what it is, to watch it. I think you did it justice pretty well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I love that movie. I actually got the VHS as a birthday present when I was in, was it first grade? Might have been first grade. Yeah, and so it was very much on my radar because I was just a kid who was obsessed with Batman and Batman the Animated Series, and so of course, so I just watched it obsessively as a child, and but I've realized over the years that so many people it just wasn't on their radar, and so I love introducing it to people because it's like, guys, you're not even aware, but the best Batman movie ever has been around for 20 years. And so I figured it was worth making a video about because it's a thing that I'm enthusiastic about.
Yeah, I was like 7 years old when I watched it, and my mom bought the VHS of the movie, and we still have it to this day, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we do. So, also I wanted to acknowledge your recent, one of your recent videos on how Wonder Woman uses color. So, a lot of people, including yourself and myself, have said about one of the things they liked about Wonder Woman compared to Suicide Squad, Batman v Superman, and Man of Steel is its use of color. And, so, what entirely made you want to create the video? Because a lot of people can, what I say about creators is people can usually say the same thing, but with you and many other people, they can take their own spin and take on it. So what was it about you wanting to make this video on Wonder Woman, to try to say it in your own words so people won't think you're just trying to say what everyone else is saying?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the general reaction to Wonder Woman has been very positive. People, while the previous DC movies were pretty divisive at best, the majority of people are really digging Wonder Woman, seem to really like it. And I really liked the way it used color. I saw the movie twice, and I would just, couldn't, because I'm the guy that made, the video about Marvel's color grading. I can't help but think about that stuff. And I was noticing, how I thought it, it used color in a really just, not especially complicated, but in a really effective, deliberate way. And then I would see people, not a lot, but I've seen some people I know, complaining on the internet saying, I liked it, but it's another drab DC movie, or, why are these movies all so dull looking? And I was like, I mean, slow down a second, because, a lot of the movie does have muted colors, but this isn't just the Zack Snyder aesthetic. They're all motivated. And so, and that video, that wasn't even I release a video every week, and that to me wasn't even like that week's main video. That was just like a little bonus video because I was just like, this is, just it's a pretty small, simple topic, but something that I would like to address because I'm not seeing enough conversation about it. And so yeah, it was just a thing that that could be articulated in just a few minutes, and but I thought was an interesting aspect of the movie because there's so many other conversations happening, around that movie that are about like different aspects of it, and I just wanted to shine some light on a really what I found to be a really effective aspect of filmmaking.
I also wanted to point out since what about like making videos and then talking about comic book movies? Like, what made you wanted to combine the two? Because now more people are accepting the fact that comic book things are now like more of a mainstream thing than they were probably like a few years ago. It really started with 2008 with Iron Man, and a bit with Batman Begins. Mostly it was a bit about the Dark Knight if you think about it.
I mean, it really began back in like 2000 with XMen. That was like the beginning.
That is true.
Of like things turning, and then and I think it was 2008 was when it really blew up. But it had been building, I think, from the beginning of the 2000s.
You're right. That's fair. Like I totally forgot about X-Men. So I'm not sure if have you talked about it, but I'm just curious, like your thoughts on Logan, because I haven't seen I was really thinking that you would make a video talking about that.
Yeah, I mentioned Logan briefly in one video, and I really, really liked it. I think it is, like, hands down the best X-Men related movie that has been made. I think it's a great action movie. I think it's a great, just like, sort of neo-Western. I was so like pleasantly surprised by that movie, and I enjoyed it so much. And honestly, the reason I didn't make a video about it is, actually, a couple of reasons. I didn't have like a unique angle to like bring to that movie. There's been so much good writing about it already that I didn't feel like I had some. There was no aspect that I thought like I needed to talk about that no one else covered, and also because while it is something that that comes up fairly regularly on in my work, I don't want to just be a guy who talks about comic book movies, and I try to do somewhat broader work than that, and so I feel no need to discuss every comic book movie that comes out, and so unless there's something like with Wonder Woman in color that really motivates me to want to discuss that, I'm probably not gonna be talking about every comic book movie that comes out. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I completely understand. Because you just don't want to be seen, like, as much as you like comic books, you don't want to be known as a comic book guy. I completely understand that. I also wanted to address how to make a good Fantastic Four movie, which I completely agree with. So, like, do you still, like, even though that was made 3 months ago, do you still agree with that's how you should make a Fantastic Four movie, or has your opinion changed a bit?
No, I'm pretty. Yeah, I think my opinion is pretty much about the same, and I mean, it's not like there's been a whole lot of development, on the Fantastic Four movie front beyond, like a couple unsubstantiated rumors. But yeah, because I mean, the ideas that I put forth in that video, they're not like, I didn't lay out a whole plan for what I think the story should be. That's not really my job. These are just some sort of like rules that I think should be followed, are like kind of guidelines that I think would that were missed by the other movies that I think should be stuck to. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been thinking about that for I remember thinking about that in college, just like brainstorming one day, like while watching a boring movie for class, thinking like how do I think a Fantastic Four movie should be done, and yeah, and so that video, in a way, had been like gestating for many years. And so, yeah, I still pretty much stand by what I said a few months ago.
So how do you think, for example, since I was curious because I'm not sure because I haven't watched it in a while. Did you say you want the Fantastic Four to be part of the MCU in your version?
I actually,
or just
I didn't even mention that. Yeah.
So would you want the Fantastic Four to be part of the MCU if they ever get the chance?
Oh yeah. I mean, look, I can only imagine that all of us comic book fans would ideally like, just Marvel to have access to all their own characters and no longer have them separated by companies. And especially because, the Fantastic Four, in the comics, are kind of like the linchpin of the Marvel universe. They're Marvel's first family. They're so rooted in the history of that universe, and not having them there feels like it's still as much as I like the MCU, it still feels like this little kind of this hole in the center of it where the Fantastic Four should be. So yeah, and several people have put forth the idea that you could introduce the Fantastic Four into the MCU by having a story where they, had been stuck in the negative zone for decades, not aging, and then return to the present day, and which I think totally works. So yeah, so I didn't mention that in the video because that all comes down to corporate stuff, and I don't want to say to make a good one you have to there has to be a deal between Fox and Marvel to exchange the rights or whatever. And what I was sticking to is pretty much whoever makes this movie, at whatever studio, you could still make a good movie by following these rules, regardless of whether or not it's in the MCU. But yeah, of course, it would be great to actually, have them rejoin the rest of the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm. So I also wanted to mention, if I can find it in my notes. So I think with your video, it says from what I can tell, it has over 1.8 million views, and it's your why do Marvel movies look kind of ugly?
That one, yep.
And that one is I see through the comments, and that one is in a way it's divisive because some people are like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a DC fan, and I disagree with the comments because I do understand where you're coming from. And that video actually made me rewatch Civil War, and I'm like, huh, okay, he has Magic at a point. So it's kind of oh wow, I didn't even notice. So
I've had several friends tell me that you kind of ruined these movies for me, and I'm look, I like these movies too. I have to just make myself. And usually when I'm watching them, I can ignore my issues with the color grading, and but I'm just always I just wish they could look so much better, and it wouldn't take that much effort. I think Black Panther looks so good, but I wish the color grading were a little less dull, and I think that. So yeah, that video, but yeah, I know it has sparked a lot of conversation, more than I ever expected.
Yeah, I also noticed during Civil War, and then also looking at the Spider-Man Homecoming trailers and everything, I'm Spider-Man's costume in the Spider-Man Homecoming is a lot more colorful than it was in Civil War. It's just huh, I didn't realize that. Same thing for Vision. Vision should be more colorful. Maybe Cap should be a bit more blue. It's just the reds on Falcon, the reds on Scarlet Witch should pop out more. I never realized how much color grading. I realized how much color grading can affect how your film looks. Because I make little short films every now and then. So yeah, I completely get it, but I just never realized how much it affected Civil War as a whole. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I really like that movie, but there's just. These choices with the visuals that I just don't really get. So much of it seems to be set just, in the middle of the day, just with the sun directly overhead. And it's a thing that you learn early on, with filmmaking. It's when you're shooting exterior scenes, usually either shoot like in the morning or late in the day when the sun is lower in the sky, and it just looks better because when the sun is directly overhead, it just kind of creates these harsh shadows on everybody and just doesn't look flattering and kind of looks boring. And yet, like, all of Civil War is shot at like noon on the sunny day, and it just looks really gray. And it doesn't even make it look more realistic. It just makes it look kind of bland. And it's frustrating. Like what drives me nuts is I think the best looking superhero movie to come out in years is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I think is a bad movie. I really don't like it, but it looks incredible. Like if you look at any scene of that movie, like look at like Spider-Man swinging around, and also I should mention it's shot on film, which makes a big difference. And the cinematographer is Dan Mindel, who also shot like The Force Awakens and like all of J.J. Abrams' movies, and really knows what he's doing. Yeah, and you look at like how vibrant like the reds on Spider-Man's suit are there, and how beautiful every bit of it looks. And it's like, oh, why? But that movie, like, in my opinion, mostly sucks, but it looks fantastic. And I'm just like, why can't Marvel's movies look as good as this one?
No, I get it. I also feel like, I also do think that Spider-Man 2, like, I don't like the movie either as much as, like, a lot of people. But I do, right, like the...
I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2, not, like, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2.
No, I know what you meant. Like,
okay, no, I just want to make sure that, like, because Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi one, I think it's the best superhero movie ever made. So I just want to make sure no one listening, like, misunderstands me.
I think when people hear The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm pretty sure they know what you mean.
Yeah, okay.
Because a lot of people, when they say Amazing Spider-Man 2, they think of Andrew Garfield, Mark Webb, and Spider-Man 2 is, right, like, Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi, you know?
Yeah.
Like I know the difference.
Exactly.
I just want to know, like, who's your favorite superhero, like, in general?
That's a tough question, and, but as really unoriginal as it is, I can't help but always come back to Batman. That was like the foundation of everything. Like, I ended up the way I did because when I was like 4 years old, my parents showed me the 1960s Batman movie with Adam West, and that was what, as a 4-year-old, made me obsessed with Batman, and then obsessed with comic books, and then obsessed with movies, and so it just began everything. And yeah, I just, like, you know, I have a lot of favorite characters, but I kind of always come back to Batman.
Yeah, I also, I do think that Batman's a great superhero, but I also feel like, my favorite superhero, as much as I love Batman, is, to me, Spider-Man.
He's my number 2.
Yeah, Spider-Man's honestly my number 1, and Batman's my number 2, and I say Spider-Man's my number 1 is because I've always related to Spider-Man, because I was the nerdy kid everybody picked on in high school, and, you know, I was in high school and throughout school, and, you know, I was like someone who was, I was basically Peter Parker.
Oh,
so it's just like, I think a lot of...
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't relate to Batman, and I think it's really weird when people say, like, oh, Batman's the best because he's, like, you know, the most, like, relatable superhero because he doesn't have any powers and, like, anyone could be him. It's like, what are you talking about? Batman is, like, kind of the least relatable. He's just this billionaire who just, like, you know, has made himself into this, like, unstoppable, brilliant, like, crime-fighting machine. And there's nothing relatable about him. And he's interesting, but not relatable. And, no, Spider-Man is, like, I'm totally with you. Like, have you ever read the Brian Bendis, Mark Bagley run on Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yes, that was the very first Spider-Man comics I ever read. I have, like, all the volumes and a bunch of the issues. And
oh, dude, I have every single issue to that series, and that, like, got me through so much of like junior high and everything, because I was like, I bought the first issue when I was 12 years old, like the day it came out, and I related so much to Peter Parker through that whole thing, and that, yeah, and I just, and yeah, and I just, I never stopped reading it, and that was such a big thing for me, like when I was like 14 and 15. So I'm with you.
Yeah, because I think that Spider-Man in comic books is one of the best incarnations of Spider-Man, in my personal opinion. I'm also a fan of I know he's an artist, but, you know, like, around the Stanley, Steve Ditko, James Kirby, you know, days of Peter Parker. But I also just really love Brian Bendis and, you know, of their work. Because that's just, like, I believe when I think of Spider-Man and Peter Parker, that's the automatic, that's that automatic incarnation I think of when I think of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know, and that also introduced me to the whole deal of, I don't know, like, when I first saw Iron Man, and I saw Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury, I felt I was still probably, like, thinking, oh my god, freaking Ultimate Spider-Man, because Black Nick Fury is in that series. That's when I first saw that. So I don't know. That was just me. That's
yeah,
like
I'm with you. I remember seeing, like staying after the credits, like on opening day of Iron Man, and I couldn't believe that like Sam Jackson Nick Fury was a real thing. Because obviously, like, you know, I'd read the Ultimates where they just, you know, they got like the likeness rights to make him look like Samuel L. Jackson, and and seeing the movie just create that like so exactly, it was insane.
Yeah, like I also grew up with the Ultimates as well. The Ultimates was also my first introduction. The Ultimates in general, the Ultimates universe, kind of like my first introduction to the Marvel universe as a whole, like from Ultimate XMen, the Ultimate Fantastic Four, and the Ultimates and Ultimate Spider-Man, the Daredevil, etc. Like those comics, as much as some people are kind of divisive on Ultimate Universe, I love it. I love the Ultimate Universe. Like how realistic and a little dark, and I feel like I love the Hulk in that. Like the Hulk in that is so, like the whole moment when he's going after Betty because he's with Freddie Prinze Jr. Like that's hilarious.
It is. No, it's well, I mean, that's the thing. Like the Ultimate Universe was created, so like, you know, younger people who you know, who are I'm assuming that we're like somewhere close in age, and but like you know, but like back in the like early 2000s, like, so that, you know, younger, you know, readers who like were maybe intimidated by like, you know, issue number like, I don't know, 400 or whatever they were on, could start fresh with like this new, you know, this new universe. And I was 12 years old, and I was like the target audience, and I got so into it, and I read everything, and yeah, and I mean, yeah, as it went on, you know, the Ultimate Universe basically grew to kind of have the same problems that the main Marvel Universe had, in that it, you know, it had its own convoluted continuity, and also then the regular Marvel Universe kind of like took a lot of the lessons from the Ultimate Universe, so they weren't as different as they had used to been. But those early days, like you know, like the first several years are, well, Ultimate Spider-Man was always great, but those times from like 2000 through like 2003 or so, it was so good. It was so good. I read everything, and Ultimate Spider-Man is still maybe my favorite superhero comic run ever.
I also, my mom is not a big comic book person, but when every now and then, I would read them, and then she would ask to tell me what they're about, and then sometimes she would read them. Like, she likes the Ultimate books. She likes Ultimate Spider-Man and some Batman books. Like,
wow.
Like, I feel like, huh?
I'm just like, wow, like my mom has never read any of that.
Like, I remember there was one point where I kept on, when Batman the Court of Owls came out, and I was gushing over it, and I remember we was at Comic-Con a few years ago, and I got to meet Scott Snyder, and
Scott's great.
And when I met, Yeah, he's a great guy, great guy. And then afterwards, I got my comic book signed by him, and afterwards, and I kept telling my mom, like, man, I can't believe I'm Scott Snyder. And then I never told her about the books, so I just kept talking about the books. And after Comic-Con was over, I asked Mom, like, do you want to read them? She's like, yeah, sure. And then she read them. She's like, wow, that was really, really good. And she's like, they should make that to a movie. I'm like, I know, right? So, like, it's something where my mom has never read a comic in her life, and then she can be into comic books like everyone else. And I don't know, it's something that I think I should tell people, like, oh, I don't think comic books are for me. I'm like, my mom is like her mid-50s, and she can read comic books just fine. I think you can read a comic book and get into one. So
exactly,
like she's into superhero movies. We've watched superhero movies since I was very young, and she introduced me to the 1966 Batman, and we've been watching all the MCU movies together since Iron Man 1 came out.
Wow.
And that's like, we love the Marvel movies together. We've been watching, like, we've seen the whole Dark Knight trilogy together. We've seen, like, my mom, I remember taking me to, I was very young, like, my very first X-Men movie was X3, and so X3, and I remember watching that, and afterwards, when Blockbuster was around, we watched X-Men 1, X-Men 2, and so we've seen a lot of comic book movies together, because I just loved comic book stuff, and she didn't care or mind, and she was into it, and she could tell you now, she can even tell you, even if you were to ask her, like, what's your favorite comic book movie, and she could tell you, like, she can tell you a couple of ones that she really likes, like, she likes Spiderman too, like, she likes the Dark Knight movies, she likes those kind of movies, and something I think I really like about her. I'm sorry, I'm just talking about my mom all of a sudden.
Hey, but no worries. I mean, like, I could talk about my mom at length too. Except, although she does not know a lot about comic book movies.
Yeah, it's just like I remember, so it's just like we can go to Comic-Con together, and the one coolest thing I think my mom has ever done when it was last year. And I'm an artist, like I draw. I've been drawing since middle school, and I still do art now. Like, I'm taking in college, I'm doing animation classes and all this sort of stuff. So I remember the coolest thing she ever did was, for my birthday last year, was she bought me a table for a Comic-Con so I can sell my artwork.
No way.
And it was like the best thing she ever did. Like, she's done really amazing things, but that was such a shock, where she bought me a table, and I was there. We were planning to go to Comic-Con anyway, but it's just the fact that she spent, like, money and then stayed there with me the whole 3 days to be at the table, and, like, that was such an amazing experience, and meeting all these people and doing all these cool things, and then, like, I do the interview, and she's one of the reasons why she inspired me to do interviews in the first place. A lot of people don't know that. So, like, she told me I should do something on YouTube where it's different, and different in a way where it's like, well, and I even looked, I'm like, I don't see a lot of, like, I also like do a stop motion animation, so I want to do that, but I also want to do something different. So, so she was like, why don't you just do something where not a lot of people do? And I thought a lot of the channels don't do a lot of interviews nowadays. So she's like, why don't you do that? And I'm like, well, maybe I should. And I remember I started doing them, like, in 2015, I'm pretty sure. Like, no, 2014. So so it's like, when I do interviews, and then, like you and many other creators I look up to, like, are, like, willing to take the time out of their day or their week or whatever to do something as small as this, like, I think, to me, like, I don't know, like, I can't believe, like, someone like you who has, like, has over 100,000 subscribers is willing to do something for someone who doesn't even have even close to 100. Like, it's like, me, that's...
Well, look, I mean, like, until like, last November, I only had 18,000. So I was very small for a long time. So yeah.
So like I just want to say again, thank you for doing this. So I guess my last question is so like what kind of more videos are you going to be doing in the future? Because you're or you're going to be doing any more video essays? Do you have any more video essays planned? Any more like what if videos or anything like that in the future that you can at least tell your audience or tell us anything about that?
Yeah, of course. So much of the videos I've made this year were like sort of non-fiction stuff. Like video essays, videos where I talked about movies, and while for the previous 5 years the channel had been all like little like sort of short films, little cinematic things, and like and right now I'm sort of like now trying to strike a balance between the two, and so the schedule that I'm shooting for going forward is for every month, assuming that there's about 4 weeks in a month, to have 2 cinematic short films, or like sort of like sketches, or just like narrative, like let's call them narrative shorts. 1 video essay, and then 1 sort of like a vlog about filmmaking, and so there will be a video essay every single month. There will be I'll be producing like narrative content every month, and it all kind of links together. I think I'm hoping to start doing more behind the scenes videos for the narrative videos to show like the process and how we make these things. But that's probably going to be it going forward. So it's a mix of all the stuff that I've been doing for the past several years.
So, all right. Well, I think that sounds pretty awesome, man. Again, like, thank you so much for coming on, and if any of your fans are watching, would you like to say anything to them?
I would just like to say thank you so much for watching these things that I make, and it still blows my mind that anybody watches them. I really appreciate it, and I will continue to just like work really, really hard to make cool stuff and keep you entertained.
So like Patrick's all of his social media will be in the link in the description, and especially his channel. Definitely check him out if you are someone who's inspired me filmmaker, or just like to hear people talk about really interesting things, or just like to see fun videos like what he makes. Highly recommended. Again, thank you so much, Patrick. I really cannot say thank you enough. It's just such a pleasure.
Hey, Moose, thank you for having me. I've had a lot of fun talking to you today.
Oh, thank you so much. I had fun talking to you too. And also, I wanted to say that I have a podcast, and I'm having a bunch of people. So it's called Nerd Talk, and we just talk about all sorts of things and like upcoming like nerd news and movies and superhero stuff. So I think since you're in the comic book stuff, like maybe you would like to come on at some time.
I would be happy to. Clearly, I can talk about this stuff forever.
All right, cool. Sounds great. So, again, thank you so much, and thank you everyone who watches, to listen to the interview and everything like that. So, make sure to, if you're interested to see more interviews, subscribe and everything, and like and comment, and so thank you again, Patrick.
Hey, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure talking to you too. You have a good day, man.
You too.